Peace family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I want to do is I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about how time is real. Time is real, which is why we put so much emphasis on people wasting our time, which is why we put emphasis on how we utilize our time. But we have a lot of generic statements out here to leave people in the blind and to leave people in these gray areas, having them feel as though time is not a real thing. And most people, once they start growing into this ascension and start understanding things on a deeper spiritual level, this is like one of the main areas I notice where a lot of people get confused at, and they tend to say, oh, well, yeah, time isn't real. Time isn't this and time isn't that. Time is real. Time is real. If time was not real, we wouldn't age from an infant to an adult. These things that are happening to us in this physical realm transpires in the spiritual realm first, which we all understand. The spiritual realm dictates this physical world. And based on the information that's out here, I can see how a lot of people, when they start growing into that space of saying time isn't real, we have two different time clocks. You got your spiritual time clock, then you have your physical time clock. Our spiritual time clock is the one that once people start growing, they want to let go of the physical time. The physical time is just us being spiritual beings, having a human experience, being extremely intelligent, and measuring out the time from sun up to sundown, moon up to moon down, and getting as accurate as we possibly can. So without the physical time, there would just be, we would tell time by the sun for the most part. You know, the sun is how you keep track of the days, the moon is how you keep track of the months, seasons is, well, the years is how you keep track of the seasons. The seasons is help you keep track of the years. I just flip-flop that and reverse that completely. But we have natural methods out here that help us keep track of time to a certain degree already. But when you got 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., these times, the physical times, is where it gets a little tricky and confusing for people at. One, because they start the new day at nighttime, which is, it throws our spiritual algorithms off. And for two, when you getting more precise with the physical time, it's just us being extremely intelligent beings. So that way we can make the most out of our day. So instead of saying, okay, well, without the physical time, people would be more so subjective to the natural time, which would be, all right, we got to follow the sun. All right, well, when it's sundown or when the sun gets about midway, you know, we use guesstimates, and then we would meet and migrate around those areas or locations wherever the sun was at, as far as if that's what we was going on, and meeting each other at a certain location or a certain time point. But the spiritual time is where things become a little trickier. And this is where beings feel as though time is not real. Time is real because we have a limited time here in these vessels that we're in. So, and even when you replace that with spiritual time, spiritually, we're only in this realm, in these vessels, for a certain amount of time. The time manipulation comes into play at where people say, oh, I'm not going to be young forever. I got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or we got old people or grown people who say, yeah, I'm still young, or I still look young. These are people who's trying to bend time around, opposed from just being where you're supposed to be at. I don't have to tell myself, you know, that I look young or that I feel young. I just look like me and I feel like me. It's just that simple. But the time comes into place and not real when you're looking at it from the demonic playbook. If you haven't noticed, most of the males who follow that playbook don't seem time is real. And they also still have a young mind, a young mentality, a younger belief system that's not connected to anything with any real value or substance. Not saying that they don't have no connection, just any real substance of value. And you can see in their actions by the things that they do and put in place and put in front to show that they're trying to bend time so that way they can seem younger even though they're aging physically and spiritually. Women, females have their methods as well to where they want to look younger or feel younger opposed from being in their mature divine femme vessels that they're in and doing what they're supposed to be doing around these times. These are the circumstances and situations that people are taking into account when they use that analogy or that quote, time isn't real. Outside of those things, that demonic playbook, us over here on this playbook, we understand time is extremely real, which is why we don't like beings to waste our time, and we don't like to waste our time just doing frivolous or irrelevant things that's not conducive to, the productivity of our day, our life, our plan that we have aligned, And I could say to a small degree, when I start growing, I had to get myself out of that space too, because when you start learning, we like a sponge, so once we start getting all that new information, we just start soaking it right on in. And I was there to a small percentage, and I had caught myself because I had real life things happening, but I was also growing spiritually, and I realized that, okay, the time and space I was in when I was a teenager, I'm not in that same space, The time and space that I was in my early 20s, I'm not in that same space that I'm in now. So I had to understand and take into account that time is real. If you don't pay a bill or something at a certain time, you're going to be affected by it. Showing you time is real. We have things that a lot of us are paying for it now because we wasn't growing at the levels that we should have been growing at spiritually. And now 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, we're paying for us not paying attention to our time span, our windows that we have. You don't crawl forever. When you're a baby, you as low to the ground as possible. As you get older, we all understand when old people fall, that's kind of like, it's like a car accident. It's like somebody jumping off a bridge, Falling when you get older is life or death. And you've been walking on those 2 feet your whole life. So clearly, time is real. A lot of people in today's society just don't like to look at the facts. Everybody feels like, the truth is subjective. It's only one truth. You have the truth. A lot of people be like, oh no, it's always 3 sides to every story. It's the truth, their truth, my truth, our truth. It's like, that's too much. There isn't all those angles. If this person saw the same thing that I saw, then even if we missed out a few pieces here and there, our stories are still going to corroborate with each other, and it's still going to meet the truth. It's when people misconstrue things and they put that witchy sauce on there. Now they're sitting there like, oh yeah, well, I don't remember that part when this happened. Isn't that what the new terminology is called today? It's called gaslighting, You basically are denying someone's reality. So that's not the same thing as saying it, that's their truth. No, that's demonic, and that is manipulation. Intimidation, domination, manipulation. The main 3 tactics they use to rule, control, and to outsource powers that they do not have. This is all part of the flow out here. So we have to do a better job of just understanding. Once you realize how important time is, you stop operating the same way. You stop trying to what I could do when I was a teenager, before I was a teenager, like an adolescent, all the way up into my teens, I used to love doing backflips. We all used to do backflips everywhere. See who could do the most backflips, see who could do the highest backflip. I wasn't a backflipper with no hands. I had buddies that could do that. They was saucy with it. They jumping off air. I was occasional no hands backflipper. And if I did it occasionally, I needed a running start. I had the somersault, which is a cartwheel. Then I would project into my backflip. You know what I mean? But I'm not risking my life the same way today. I'm not saying that I'm fearful of it on a high percentage, but to me, I risk my life in a lot of other ways, so that just wouldn't be something that I would be finding relevant to my life today. That was a different time span. When I was around those same ages, we were climbing buildings, like 2-story buildings. We're jumping off, seeing who could land on their feet the best. Taking bikes, jumping off a back of tractor trailer, seeing who could land the best. We were doing reckless things. I don't risk my life the same way anymore because time is real and time is relevant. And then once you got your little ones and then you start fucking up, you realize how real time is. You don't get no takebacks for your fuck ups. You just have to do a better job at compensating for the mess that was made. We have to do a better job at just understanding these things, and stop taking their narrative so much. Any narratives that they push out there, we already know what time it is. And I seen a couple of people talking about propaganda from my last video, and you using a whole terminology that they created. Propaganda, that's like saying somebody's a conspiracy theorist. It's like people who tell the truth, they got all these weird acronyms, adjectives, and names for us, for it, for whatever is connected to more truth. It's all these kind of weird names they just put to it. And to me, as far as the propaganda thing goes, it's like I'm just an aware being. So the ones who's mentioning the propaganda now, it's like I was tapped into all this vid stuff before it actually happened, so I was prepared. I just wasn't doing this in front of people to be able to prepare people as well as far as when I was prepared. But now I am. So if other people aren't tapped into these other avenues to where the demonic team is telling you what the fuck they're going to do. They're telling us what they're going to do before they do it. All those TV shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy and they probably got a couple other ones out there, but those like two of the main biggest ones. You can even throw SpongeBob in there to a degree, A lot of these things, they telling us what they're going to do. And because they created so many word spells, you trap your own self with a word spell and not able to get outside the box. If somebody told me they're going to punch me in the face, and then, let's say a couple months ago, they told me they was going to punch me in the face. A couple months ago, they did. So now it's 5 months later, 3 months later, they're telling me again they're going to punch me in the face. I'm not taking that as propaganda. I'm taking that as, they showed me what they're willing to do when they say what they're going to do. They said they was going to punch me in my face a couple months ago. Here's a couple months later, he just told me, now I'm preparing myself. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So as long as we are alert, aligned, and aware, then it's hard for them to catch you off guard. People think when you tapped in and you understand what's actually going on that you don't understand what's going on. So that's why I be confused sometimes when I see certain things. Like I wouldn't be this confident, this comfortable in this space if I hadn't experienced a lot of life and been through it. If I don't run my own social experiences, if I'm not continuously being tapped in with nature, if I don't have great communication with source, I wouldn't have access to these things. Time allowed me to be able to have access to more information because once I became aware of it, I started utilizing it and realizing the value in the time. There's value in time. But a lot of people don't want to pull that out because we're in modern day slavery, and right now everybody is go, 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 go. Everybody is broke, 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 broke. But everybody acting like they got it. Or, you know, just doing all these other kind of things. Like, people are living as though they didn't just raise up the prices on everything. So then you would have to understand how real time is, because now you got to work harder. You know, you're getting less sleep, which is cutting into your time. You having to fight a lot more spiritual battles, which is taking up a lot more of your time. Like, all of these things is taking up our time or giving energy to these things. So we have to understand how real time is. If I spent, let's say on a small scale, let's just say I spent $100 today. Usually I like to try to work and make that back, so that way I'm still just, even if not making more. But if I just spend $100 for the day and I don't do anything for the day, then that means that, okay, I'm down $100. I didn't utilize the rest of my time to even cover or compensate for the extra $100 that I did just dish out, you know. So just understanding these things, you know what I mean? This keeps us a couple steps ahead, and it keeps our awareness more sharper and more tapped in and more tuned. A lot of people don't just, a lot of beings are not concerned with humans' future. They're more concerned with just, all right, well, I just got to get my life organized together. Yes, you do. But we're also affecting others around us as well, too. So we have to be mindful of these things. You know, if I'm wasting my time, then I don't want to pull somebody else into a time waster. I'll look at them and see, oh, they wasting their time. Well, shit, we can waste our time together. Come over here. I'm just wasting time right now. So let's waste this time together. But when it's time to be productive, we have to be productive together, or I got to go over here to my own space to be productive and utilize my time. And then I'll look at my time and I'll be like, you know what? I got about 5-10 minutes to waste, you know. And in my mind, wasting and relaxing is the same thing, because I be on the go so much. But I know that it's not the same thing. I know I'm recharging my body. I know I'm getting things cleared out in the spiritual realm, so that way I like to take off things on the task. So if I got something at the end of the month, every day I get up and throughout my day I'm thinking about that one task that I got to do. But if I just knock that task out the way, then that removes that one thing that I kept processing, and now I only got 5 or 6 other things that I'm processing. If I had 7, that minimized it to 6. That's allowing me to think more clear. Once you can get some of these tasks knocked out the way, now you can kind of free flow and relax, or travel more out to the future to get everything else more in line for the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year. But time is valuable. Time is real. Time is real. We got to stop living in these delusional places, especially if you're in Western society, because they're going to allow you to be delusional. This whole place is one big ass delusion right now. Not saying the world is, I'm saying Western society is one big ass delusion right now. If I wanted to go outside and tell everybody I'm a cat, and I start meowing like a cat, they gonna have to respect it. Even if they don't respect it, they still gonna let me walk around and be a cat and not make me feel any shame or look any dumber for pretending to be something that I am not. It's how society is set up. If you wanted to put a diaper on as a grown-ass man or a grown-ass woman, walk outside like a baby, you can do it. And society will not judge you for it. They will not shame you for it. They will just allow you to do it. So that way, the next generation sees you doing these things and they think it's okay, and now here they come doing the same thing. This is how all this quote-unquote, what somebody was saying in the comments, propaganda, this is what the propaganda is. Propaganda isn't me making people aware of shit that's actually happening. Everything that happens in one state usually comes down to another state. The vid thing happened in overseas, it hit New York, and now it's all over the world. So, like, some of y'all gotta use your common sense, or just rewatch or re-listen before dropping like comments down there, because it'd be like a little frustrating, because I know, like, I got over 800 videos over here. Like, if you just got in here and you knew, you gotta go tap into some of the old stuff. Like, you gotta get familiar, because coming over here with that kind of talking nonsense, like, it'll ride for a little bit, but I'm super aware. I am super aware. If you was more aware than me, then let me know. Show me some of your content, your knowledge and information. I will tap in. I would love to get together and build. But outside of that, I am fully aware of all of these things. Fully aware of all of these things, which is why I said over here, I put myself out there. You can go to other places and they're not discussing their real life on their content. They're keeping generic information out there. That's literally what most of them are doing. Most of it is just, yeah, well, you know, someone's coming into your life. Someone's leaving out of your life. You know, you had to forget them, but they not giving no examples of them as a being. So when you don't give no examples as you as a being, then you could have just got this and regurgitated this anywhere. We all know how to read vibrations and energy, whether you in real life or it's through a screen. I done spent plenty of time watching people and I have to read their energy, have to feel their vibes even through the screen. This is what we do. So this little middleman isn't stopping us from being able to read the vibrations. It's not. So we just got to be more sharper, more tapped in, more tuned. We got to stay ahead of the quote-unquote curvature. Because you know we on a ball of water spinning so fast, none of us feel it. I'm a smart ass, for real. I ain't going to run up too long, though. Tapping everything down below. Peace and love to the kings and queens.